Can I get a hi, Miss Erin? Well, today is our last day of summer urban naturalist sun camp together. We have done so much together. We've learned all about birds, we've learned all about plants, and most importantly, we've learned how we can be our own superheroes, if you think about it, by saving the world and protecting all the nature that there is to be found while also enjoying it and having fun. So if you remember, at the end of our first week together, we talked about how each of us can help to protect all the birds that we love in our communities. And since today is the last week of our Plants Week, guess what we're going to do? Yep, we're going to learn how to protect all the plants. But since we know that plants, and in particular, especially our native plants, are responsible for supporting all of the rest of the food web, by protecting native plants, we're actually saving the world and protecting all of those other species that are connected in the food web, including people. Yes, we are all connected in that amazing food web. So, our task will be first to take out your bag that says number 8, okay? Number 8 is our last day together, so this should be our last bag in your bag. I'll give you a second for you to get your bag that says number 8. Okay, so there are lots of different things that we could do to protect plants. And unfortunately, the answers aren't all in this bag. For example, maybe you've heard about the problem of deforestation. That's definitely bad for plants when we cut down all of the trees and use them for things that people need without thinking about the rest of the planet and the food web. So deforestation, cutting down the forests, that's definitely bad for plants, but we're not gonna solve that using anything in our camp kits. So what about another issue? Maybe you've heard about invasive species. In fact, in your Audubon Adventures magazine, if you were reading it a little more, there's a little information on the side about invasive plants. Basically, invasive plants are plant bullies. So it's when one kind of plant grows too much and it grows all over top of other plants. See how it looks in this picture? There are plants like vines covering all the other plants, which makes it really hard for those other plants to photosynthesize. They can't see the sun. The sun is not reaching those plants that are underneath. There's some dogs running in the park. Okay, they're going the other way. You're okay. So, invasive plants are not good, but we're also not going to solve that using anything in our camp kit. So what else can we do? Well, the main problem for plants that I think we can solve is that we don't make all of our spaces where we live and work and play, we don't make them look enough like nature. Yeah, we make them look kind of like this. I'm going to spin you around so you can see past the Audubon Habitat Garden. There are big areas of grass where dogs like to play, and they can be kind of fun, but they're not doing much for our food web, right? So there's kind of this idea that nature has to be in some places, protected places like national parks or even city parks, and then people have to be in other places, separately. But that's not really true, because people really like nature. I like nature. Do you like nature? Yeah, it's super fun to explore and enjoy. And so those places can be together. Those nature places and those people places, they actually have to be the same places in order to support that food web that we rely on. So how do we do that? Well, we could have fewer spaces that look like the mowed grass and more spaces that look like nature. Fewer spaces that look like baseball fields. No offense to baseball. I love baseball, but think about it. Even Baltimore's baseball team is named after a bird. Baltimore Orioles, right? But if all of our spaces looked like baseball fields, there would not be any Baltimore Orioles. Baltimore Orioles need nature spaces, forests and trees and plants in order to live. So that is what we are going to do. No matter who you are or where you live, each of us can actually help to plant native plants and make our spaces look more like nature, which is amazing. Think about it. There are a lot of people who live here in Baltimore. If each one of us planted one native plant, that would be so many native plants. Just think about how many kids are doing Audubon Sun Camp right now with you. There's actually about 200 of you all spread out over the city, and each one of you is about to plant a native plant. I'm so excited because that means you're each doing something kind of small, but when you add it up together, all 200 of you, you're planting 200 native plants. I'm so excited. I hope you are so excited too. So now let's look into your camp kit. The first thing you're going to pull out, you don't have to dump out everything, right? First thing you're going to pull out is your craft cardboard tube, otherwise known as a toilet paper roll, okay? If you have some more of these at home, you could do more than one. We're just gonna do one together, and I've included one in your kit. So this is actually what we are going to use to plant our native flower, believe it or not. You'll see how. I will show you. If you want to, you can decorate the outside of your cardboard tube. You probably shouldn't use markers because this is going to get wet. We'll have to water our plant after you plant it. We'll have to water your seeds. And if this has marker on it and it gets wet, the marker will probably run and get messy. But if you still have your crayons from your first day, you can use those crayons to decorate the outside of your tube. So I'm gonna decorate mine really quickly. If you have some crayons and you wanna decorate yours together, that would be great. If you want a hint about what this plant is going to look like, it's going to have a flower eventually when it grows up, and that flower is yellow, okay? So I'm gonna write my name on mine. Go ahead, get your tube, get your crayons. You can decorate yours along with me. We'll just take a few minutes. You're not going to want to color too close to the bottom because that's actually going to get folded up later, okay? So maybe about an inch from the bottom is where you should stop coloring. So I wrote my name on mine, but I made sure to not go down any further than there. If there's more than one of you in your house, like you have a brother or a sister, and you're both doing this, then you should put your name on it, and that way you'll know whose is whose. Be careful when you're coloring so you don't crush your tube. I mean, it's okay if it gets a little bit smushed, but we are going to need to put some things in here, so we don't want to crush our tube. How about just a few more minutes? You know, if you need more time, you can always pause the video. And you can rewind the video, but don't fast forward me. I'll know if you fast forward me. Just kidding, I won't. If I'm going too slow and you would rather get to the planting part, then I guess you can fast forward me. But if you're going too fast, you probably don't have enough details. So maybe you could add some more details, and that will give me a chance to catch up. Not too many details because this is going to get filled with dirt and eventually decompose. So shouldn't be too fancy. All right, I have my tube. I drew a flower. I drew a leaf. I wrote my name. Okay, so the next thing you will need to make your planter for your native plant is your scissors. So hopefully you still have those from your first day. Day number 1. I have my scissors. And here's what you're going to do. I'm gonna try to scooch a little closer so you can see. So on the bottom of your tube, okay, you're going to make 4 cuts. And they're going to be on the top, bottom, side, and side, okay? Across from each other and across from each other. So watch me. Did you see what I did? I may have missed it. Okay, so it's, you know, less than an inch, okay? And now I'm going to do the other side. Okay, so now I have 2 cuts that are across from each other. Now I'll do the other direction. Okay. So I made my 4 cuts. You can kind of see there, 2, 3, 4. The reason I made these cuts is because I'm actually going to fold the bottom of this tube, and that is what is going to make a little pot to hold my soil, okay? So I'm going to fold in these pieces that I just cut. Now, this can be a little tricky. You might need a grown-up to help you. Grown-ups, you'll know kind of what to do because it's sort of like when you're folding a cardboard box and you want it to stay together. That's what you're going to do. So you fold in one side. Okay, there's one piece. Then the next side. So you're kind of gonna go in a circle. Okay, then the next one. And I'm looking at the screen over here so I can make sure that you can see what I want you to see. And then the last one, you kind of tuck under the first one. It's kind of tricky, like I said, that's why you need a grown-up, okay? Did you see how I did that? Kind of? I think you'll get the idea, right? So now it's perfect. Now I have a little pot. It's okay if there's kind of a hole in the bottom because remember, a plant is going to be growing in here. We'll have to water it and it'll have to be able to let some water out of the bottom. It's called a drainage hole. The water will drain out the bottom. Okay, so now I have my pot. It should be kind of flat on the bottom. Okay, if you need more time, pause the video and keep working. And when you're ready, then press play and we'll keep going. The next thing you will need is your bag of soil. So inside your number 8 bag, you should have a baggie like this with soil. Open it up. I love that smell. soil composty smell. Okay, so you're going to very carefully dump your soil into your tube. I'm kind of making a mess. It's okay, you can clean it up, or if you're doing this outside, even better. Okay, so I'm dumping it in. It looks kind of full, so I'm gonna use my finger and push it down a little bit. Some is getting on my hands, that's okay. It washes off. I have a little more to go. I'm gonna push it down some more. There's a stick. I don't really want the stick. I'm gonna throw that away. A little bit more. Okay. Now, I'm gonna put this baggie back into my bag because I don't want it to blow away and turn into litter. No litter bugs. We are naturalists. Naturalists don't litter. Naturalists help clean up litter. Okay, so I have my pot and it's full of soil. I can use my finger to kind of push it down a little bit. Okay? Kind of pack it down in there. How's yours coming? Is it going good? Okay, so next, I actually want to make my soil a little bit wet, and I didn't put any water in your bag. So you are going to need to get some water. It can just be in a cup, that's fine. I put mine in a spray bottle because that makes it a little easier to spray, but you could also just get some water in a cup and pour it out. Not too much. We just want the soil to be kind of moist, not too wet, okay? So go ahead and get your water. I'm gonna get mine and I'm gonna give a little spray. And look, it's already starting to make the outside of my pot wet. That's good, that's a good thing. Okay, the water is soaking down, look at that. That's a good thing. We want the soil to be kind of moist when the seeds go in. Okay. Once you've made your soil a little bit moist, there's another bag in your kit, and it might look like there's nothing in it. You might look at that and think, Miss Erin, why did you give me an empty bag? But if you look very closely, see those tiny little specks? Those are seeds. Those are flower seeds, and these seeds are the seeds of a native plant called Black-Eyed Susans. So we're gonna plant some Black-Eyed Susans. They're a really beautiful flower that's native to Maryland, and they're actually Maryland's state flower. Yes, states have their own state flower that's like their favorite flower, and Black-Eyed Susans are Maryland's state flower. So, if you want, you could inspect these seeds a little bit more closely. If you get your hand lens from day 2, your day 2 bag, I think that was day 2, you can use your hand lens to inspect the seeds. They're so tiny. Each Black-Eyed Susan flower probably makes thousands of seeds. Okay, so we're going to plant our Black-Eyed Susan seeds in our tube. Our soil is already a little bit moist. Now, how should we plant our seeds? Should we take the seeds and push them way far down in the soil? Well, let's think about it. How does a Black-Eyed Susan flower plant its seeds? If there were Black-Eyed Susan flowers growing here, in this habitat, would they take their seeds and somehow shove them down into the ground? No. They would probably just fall down to the ground and kind of get scattered or maybe the wind would blow them down onto the ground, but they wouldn't really get pushed down into the ground. So we want to do the same thing that nature would do when we're planting our native plants. So we're just going to sprinkle the seeds onto the top, okay? So here's what you'll do. If you can put this down on a surface, that would be good. I'm going to hold it so that you can see. Okay. Now, the best way to get these out of here is to actually lick your finger a little bit. Make it sticky. Maybe I do have to put this down. I need 2 hands. All right, make your fingers sticky, and then stick it to the seeds. Can you see this? Little tiny seeds on my finger, okay? And now I'm going to sprinkle them onto the soil. Once they hit the soil, you can barely see them. I'm gonna get a couple more. You don't need very many. Remember, if you have more tubes like this, you can spread these seeds out into a few different tubes. And that might actually be better to give the seeds more space. Okay, I'm gonna close my baggie. Put it back into my kit so it doesn't become litter. And then I'm gonna water my seeds one more time and give them a gentle little press. Okay? And that's basically it. Maryland plants are pretty easy peasy. They're pretty laid back because they're used to just being planted by nature and not really having to do anything, okay? So what you will want to do is you will want to keep your soil pretty moist until the seeds sprout. Let me show you what I mean. I have some pictures. In my clipboard. So the seeds will be kind of on the surface of the soil. These are kind of down into the soil. There's those dogs barking. So the seeds are kind of in the soil. They need to stay wet so that they germinate. Germinate is what it means when the roots come out. Can you see that? And they start to sprout. So here, the seed is just barely starting to germinate. Here the roots are going down, but it's not poking above the soil yet. Finally, you start to see the plant poke above the surface of the soil. It's starting to sprout, and then eventually it grows some leaves, okay? So all the time this is happening, that's called germinating. And your seed needs to stay kind of wet while it's germinating. So you'll probably want to give it some water every day. It will take about a week or 2 to germinate. So to go from here to when you see the leaves poking up above the soil takes a week or 2. So it does take some patience, and you will have to keep giving it some water each day until you see that it has germinated and started to sprout, okay? Germinated. That's a fun word to say. All right. Your seed and this flower, your plant, also really likes the sun. Some plants like to be in the shade. Some plants like to be in the sun. Black-eyed Susans really like to be in the sun. So if you can put it somewhere really sunny, even if it's inside and it's in a sunny window, that would be okay. Or if you can put it outside, then that would be great, as long as it's in the sun and as long as you keep it moist, you keep it kind of wet, okay? Eventually, when your seed sprouts after a week or 2, they'll start to grow bigger. You might want to put them into a bigger pot if you have one, because they can get about a foot tall or even 3 feet tall. If you don't have space for a big plant, you could always come here to Patterson Park and plant it in the Habitat Garden. I won't tell anybody. You could plant your Black-Eyed Susan here in the Habitat Garden in the park, and it would be so great. Because once you have your native plant, then you'll see all the wildlife that will come to enjoy it. So things like butterflies. This is what your flower will look like, by the way. Yellow with a brown center. Butterflies really like Black-Eyed Susans, and here's our bird that we were talking about. Baltimore Orioles really like them too, and all different kinds of birds and other wildlife. So, friends, I have to tell you, I am just so proud and so happy and so amazed that all of you are now summer urban naturalists. You are ornithologists, you are botanists, and when you think about it, now that you have planted a native plant, which can support all the other Maryland native wildlife, you're kind of a superhero yourself. You are the plant superhero. I hope you feel so proud and so good. I hope you spend a lot of time having fun and exploring nature using all of the cool materials in your kit. I can't wait to see you again next time we see each other. I hope that you are having fun and being safe. Congratulations, summer urban naturalists, you did it! All right, plant heroes, it's time for me to say goodbye. See you later, friends.